welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In this moment in history, let's uncover the origins of the Jewish people in the Old Testament by looking at the first family of the people of God. Theologians have often called these men the Patriarchs, the fathers of the faith, not only of Old Testament Judaism, but also of Christianity. They were flawed men, sinners to the core, but ultimately found faithful in the eyes of God for their obedience to the commands of God and their trust in the promises of God. Let's discover the Patriarchs of Israel, the family tree of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, we read about Abraham first in Genesis 12, where God called him from a pagan land to follow him and then promised that Abraham would be the father of a great nation. As we will learn now with all three of the patriarchs, they were no doubt sinners who messed up in some pretty public ways at times. God promised Abraham that he and his wife Sarah would conceive in their old age and give birth to a son. The only problem, they were both well past parenting years. So Sarah convinced Abraham to follow through on the promise of God himself in his own way. Father a child with her servant, and the nation would come through him. This was a grave sin with grave consequences that we still see the ramifications of today. Even so, God still gave Abraham a son through his wife Sarah, the son of promise, whose name was Isaac. It would be through Isaac that the people of God would come. God's faithfulness was on full display when he called Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Abraham trusted in God still and was ready to put his son to death when God provided a ram as a substitutionary sacrifice in place of Isaac. Now, Isaac could be just as clueless as his father, but God was still faithful. He also gave Isaac twin sons, both legitimate, but Isaac had an obvious love for his firstborn son Esau, favoring him over the secondborn Jacob. Yet God, as he often does, upended what would have seemed normal and chose Jacob as the son through whom the people of Israel would come. It was with Jacob, whom God would rename Israel, that the people of Israel would truly begin to grow. Now, Jacob had 12 sons from 4 different women, yet another testament to the utter sinfulness of these great men. The family of Israel would grow from these 12 sons to millions of people, and time after time, God would make his own name great through this small and often disobedient people group. But the most impactful part of the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob comes in Genesis 12. God told Abraham this. He said, "I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Now that last line, "all families of the earth shall be blessed," points directly to the Lord Jesus Christ, who also came from the lineage of Abraham. Through Jesus, the seed of Abraham, all the nations of the earth have indeed been blessed with the good news of salvation. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.